What's up, everyone, and welcome into episode number 472, where it is my honor and privilege to introduce a special guest joining this episode, and that is SVSU head football coach, Coach Ryan Brady. How are you doing, Coach?
Doing well. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, excited to have you on. I know that training camp starts for you guys on Monday. How are you feeling heading into training camp and getting the season officially started for the fall?
Yeah, it's like Christmas Eve. So the guys report tomorrow morning, and so this is just tying up the last little bit of loose ends here and getting everything ready, and excited to get the guys back on campus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know the last time at least I heard from you was a video that was taken right before the spring game, and you talked about the importance and just kind of how close this team is. How important is having a close team like you have this year to kind of get off and start to the right foot when you come into fall? Because guess what? You have your first game in less than 4 weeks against Northeastern State.
Yeah, we put a lot of hard work in this summer. So the guys have did an outstanding job, and I'm really proud of them. And it was a great summer here. And so we got a lot of great work in, and just really, these guys are hungry. They're excited to get back out there and get going, and I think the staff feels that excitement, and so there's been just a lot of positive energy, and a lot of guys itching to get back on that field.
Do you think part of the retention from last year's squad to this year's squad is a huge part of kind of having that itch, getting back on the field, kind of have that leadership that you guys had last year and kind of leading into this year?
Yeah, absolutely. The retention here has been great, and I just think that's just our culture is built on one where our number one goal is to have fun, and so that's why we kind of do everything around here. We try to make it as fun and make it a great experience where guys are inspired when they come into the building, when they show up to work, that they're excited to be here, excited to see the staff, excited to get in that weight room, and so that's that's been kind of what we've done. That's been our model here, and then we've just been very specific about how we've recruited, and we've recruited like-minded people, and so that's a big part of it. And so we really emphasize recruiting the person over the player, and so we really adopted that model back in 2020. And so this will be my first season where every player in the program will be somebody that I've recruited. So this season's unique from that standpoint. But definitely, I'm proud of our retention, really proud of our development, and the guys are bought in fully to what we're doing here, and now it's time to go improve it.
And you talk about the retention and how you're proud of it. How difficult is it having retention in kind of college athletics nowadays when there's things called NIL, transfer portal? I'm sure you probably get asked about all that kind of stuff all the time. Is it pretty difficult to kind of deal with that, or because of just kind of the culture that you guys have set, is it make it a little bit easier kind of realizing that, hey, I bring in the guys more the person than the player that kind of fit what we want to do at SVSU?
Yeah, we have the same challenges that everybody has, and so it's very difficult. And we've had guys come, and guys that have left and went on to Power 5 schools and that are doing really well at those places, and so we just really have always, valued relationships and developing great relationships with our players, and so, I still talk to, a couple of the guys that left in December that are at Division I schools now, and we still check in, and, a couple of them stopped by to see me, after spring ball was over, and, I love that, and I'm wishing them all the best and happy for them, and so, some of it's life-changing money. Life-changing money. There's one young man, I was like, yeah, you should do that. That's going to change your whole life, dude. And happy for him, and so, but, it feels good when the guys see what we're doing here, and they see guys like, Trevor Nowaski and Nick Whiteside, on TV last night, two Cardinals standing, on the field, next to each other, on the sideline next to each other, we've had a good string of NFL guys over the last 4 or 5 years here, and we got some guys still hanging on, still doing it, and doing a great job. I think Trevor had 5 tackles last night, and started the game and started on special teams. even if it's just preseason, like he played a lot of snaps. That's great, and so, we just tell the guys you can get there from here, and we're playing at a really high level. This is, the best Division II football conference in the country, and there's a lot of great teams in our conference, a lot of great coaches, and a lot of great players, and so, it's exciting, but yeah, the portal, the NIL, it's tough. It's tough, it's really difficult when you pour so much into a young man and you love him like he's your own, and then then it's time to say goodbye, and so that's hard, and it's hard on the student athletes too. Like I can see it, they got to come in and have that hard conversation, and and it's just so we've really just tried to be transparent with our guys and said, hey, let's talk through it, and we'll help you make a great decision, and we ultimately just want what's best for them, and so we just kind of help them through the pros and the cons and try to give them as much advice and get them to talk to as many adults and professionals within the business as possible, and try to get them as much information as possible to make a good decision for their future. It's almost the same thing when you're recruiting high school kids. Like we really just want to sell ourselves and say, this is who we are, this is how we do it, this is what you're going to get at SVSU, and we hope that they just want to say yes. I'm not in the business of twisting kids' arms and trying to manipulate them to come play for me. That's just not how we do it here. And I think that's been a big part of why our retention is so good, because it is what we say it is. And I just had a young man tell me that today. He said, man, Coach, this is exactly what you said it was going to be. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And he goes, no, I love it. I love it. He's like, the first time around you told me that, and then he went to Michigan and won a national title with Harbaugh and those guys, and now he's here for his last year, and he's like, man, it was the same at the first time, and it is the same now. And he's like, man, I'm just so excited. I've never been this excited for a season. So, that's really cool.
Yeah, and you have to take a little bit of a sense of pride, kind of obviously saying what you mean, and that's exactly what they kind of get back to you and saying, hey, this is exactly what you said. But then at the other end, like, you have guys that have transferred out that have had success, or you have guys that have been to the NFL. There's probably a little bit of a excitement about that, saying like, hey, like, we've developed these guys and they go on and do great things. But then at the same time, you also still have to do with the stuff on the field as well. How do you kind of do it? How do you balance having to deal with kind of that stuff on the side, but also having to focus on football? Because that's not the way it was in college athletics. It was more of just like, hey, like, obviously relationships are important, but it's about the success on the field. And while that is there right now, you have to add the other opponents to it as well as a head coach.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I always wish there was more time to do football, and I know that's how my staff feels all the time. And so obviously when you're at Division II school, we all wear a lot of hats here. And so everyone's got to just roll up their sleeves, and we've just got to find a way to get what needs to be done, and we need to get it done fast and need to get it done together, and it's always something else. And today's been one of those days too, where it's like, oh, it's 4th and 1 again. Here we go. We got to figure this out, and so it's a lot of problem solving, And but yeah, when you're talking about trying to build a roster, that can be challenging because you don't really know what you're going to have, and so. And that's the part I think that frustrates college coaches. Like me in particular, I want to build a program. And you'll hear a lot of people say, "Man, you can't build a program anymore. You're building a team for 2025." Like I just refuse to accept that and look at it that way. But you're, to a certain degree, it's true. You don't know in December after our season concludes here in 2025, what's going to happen with your roster, and so that makes it challenging. Then you're trying to, figure out what's the direction you want to go, or do we got high school guys that are ready to go that we've developed, or do we need to get into the portal and try to fill some of our needs, and then spring ball comes and goes, and then the same thing happens again, and so, and with Division II, there is no portal dead period. It's just open all the time for us, and so that's really frustrating for a lot of Division II coaches. We want to be like the Division I schools and have a window. Instead, D2 kids can just be poached all the time. And there are plenty of coaches reaching out to D2 guys all the time on the regular trying to fill needs, which is just disappointing that it's come to this. But hopefully some things will come together here soon, and we can get some guardrails on this thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love the fact that you're more about like building a program, not going year in and year out. You also did mention that's kind of the way things are right now. But speaking of building a program, I want to talk about one specific position right now, because I know you were a quarterback during your time at GVSU, and I know it's important, especially when it comes to offense and kind of get things going, making sure things are going on the right path. And you have a guy in Mason McKenzie that's coming back that started for you last year. He actually started one game, I believe, his freshman year as well. How important is it to have kind of that quarterback position, a guy that's not only been in your system but started playing games for you to kind of get things off on the right foot, and just kind of having that quote-unquote leader of the offense for a lot of people in their opinion?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, this is going to be year 6 for me, and this will be the first season that I've had a returning quarterback. I'm definitely excited about having that continuity and having that chemistry back. And Mason and I got a great relationship. We have a lot of fun together. And so he's had a great off season. He had a really good freshman year last season, and I mean he's just miles ahead of where he was. And so it's good to see his confidence grown. His body's really developed. He's put some weight on, and he looks really good. And his leadership has just grown immensely. And so he's had a great off season. And so I know the guys are really excited about what they've seen from him, and he's just a competitor. I mean, he just wants to win at everything all the time. So we have a lot of ping pong battles in our little player lounge, and so he's good at everything that he does. So he keeps me on my toes. So, but yeah, we're excited about Mason. We've got some other really good quarterbacks in the program as well. Nick Patterson's going to be fully recovered from an ACL injury from last season, and he's a dynamic player. And then we got Jack Amer, who just came in from South Dakota State, who's a really good player, great fit here. And so we're definitely excited about our quarterback room and what they can do and what they are going to bring. But man, they're great guys. They really support each other. They're humble. I mean, there's no egos in that room. I mean, it's just really unique. It's fun for me because I like being around them. I spend a lot of time with the quarterbacks. Coach Basham, I always tell him he's the quarterback coach, but I coach the quarterbacks. So
yeah.
that's how that works here. But yeah, it's nice to have a guy returning that took a lot of snaps last year that the guys believe in.
Absolutely. And then regarding, like I said, your former quarterback yourself, so there probably has to be that little connection there, being quarterback yourself at GVSU and now kind of being the head coach. There has to be that chemistry between like you and them, because obviously you have experience playing at the college level, and now you're their head coach trying to help them out there when you have that experience.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, just recruiting like-minded people. Me and Mason are just alike, so we can sit and talk and hang out, and, it makes me feel like I'm back in college. Like, and if I was in college, I mean, I think me and Mason would be great friends. I think we'd probably hang out all the time, and we'd have lots of fun, and I think that he feels the same way, and, it's the same way with Nick and Jack, and that's just really like what I'm talking about, how we want to recruit is we want to find that connection with the young person and be genuine and authentic with it, because that's what's going to, I think, help, keep guys in your program, when they're like, man, all right, coach, like, wow, I love you. I love the connection we have. Man, you really care about me. I feel the same. I love the development here. I love how competitive we are. We have really high standards, and you talk about us being close. Yeah, we're right there, and it's going to be up to the kids to decide when they're ready to take the next step. And so that's what this offseason's been fun about. Is I think I probably could have had a whole bunch of guys that could have left and went all over the place, but they want to stay here like they've got unfinished business. And so, for me, that's really exciting, because that's, when you're talking about building a program, like, it takes time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, especially like for us, like, we want to be the best. We want to be the champs. Like, and so we've got to go climb the mountain, and to beat Ferris State in the Grand Valleys of the world, and so when you're building, that's not going to be overnight, and so there's going to be adversity along the way, and there's going to be pain, and there's going to be disappointment, and and so that's how it goes. You just look at Ryan Day in Ohio State, look at Harbaugh in Michigan. Like, those guys all had to like fight, scratch, and claw for years to then get to the mountaintop, and that's what we're trying to do here. And so, I'm excited because I think the kids, they want it too. That it's not just my staff and I, but they're like, yeah, Coach, we're with you. We can do this. Let's go. And so, that's what makes me really excited about for report day tomorrow, because my phone's been ringing today about the kids telling me how excited they are, and I'm like, all right, I'm busy today. Leave me alone for a minute. I'll see you tomorrow.
Exactly, and you did mention like the GLIAC, and you talked about how it's, in your opinion, the best conference in the country in the Division II. I agree with you. I think it's the best conference in the country as well, and that's probably another huge point of like people wanting to come to SVSU, say at SVSU, is you're going to play some of the best teams in the country, and every single week. Like, if you're not ready to play, you could very much easily lose. And you're going to be able to play teams like GVSU, Ferris State, like you mentioned. These are teams that you guys play yearly. And as a former GVSU quarterback, is it a little weird kind of being on the opposite side, now wearing the red instead of wearing the blue that you wore at the beginning of your college career?
A lot of people ask me that, and I honestly, it doesn't really feel that way. I mean, that was 25 years ago when I was suiting up over there. It probably feels more like what you're talking about when we play Ferris, because I worked with Coach Anise for 10 years, and that was only 6 years ago, and so it just seems a lot closer. But yeah, I've had a great journey. I mean, in all of those programs with great people. I've been just so blessed, to have been around the great coaches and to learn from guys like Brian Kelly and Tony Anise, and I love those guys. Those guys are like unbelievably like great coaches, great people. They've always took care of me. And helped me, and so I'll be forever grateful to those guys, and it's just been a cool journey, and so I'm loving my time here at Saginaw, and loving the direction where we've going, and we've put together 4 straight winning seasons, and and we're mad about that, so we want more.
Yeah, and you're doing great things at SVSU. I know that like you're talking about, you're building a program, you're playing the GLIAC, and I really truly think you're doing great things. It seems like a lot of the players at your school really love playing for you, and I think that not only tells you about you and your coaching staff, but tells you kind of the brand and kind of the culture you guys are building. And I think in a day and age where you don't see a lot of culture building, you don't see a lot of like building from the bottom up, I think what you guys are doing at SVSU is very cool and very genuine. I think you guys are doing a great job with that.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. For us, it's culture over everything, and so we made that decision, when the pandemic hit, and so when the pandemic hit, the Division I schools went into a dead period for like a year, so they couldn't recruit, and so but we could. Because D2 were never in a dead period. So while everybody took a year off, we were grinding. And so we just kind of made the decision that as we were evaluating the situation, we're like, man, there's a lot of like MAC level kids that were on the board that schools like, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan that typically would snatch up. And so we felt like we got 4 or 5 of those in that first class. And we just kind of developed a new recruiting model where we were just recruiting kids like one at a time versus, bringing up, 15, 16 guys and their families and having a big group. We literally recruited a whole class one by one. Every kid had their own individualized visit. And we really like fell in love with that, and really that's where we started to get to know the kids more. And we're talking about trying to recruit like-minded people. All of a sudden you get to spend all day with a family and a young man, and you get to learn a lot about them. And that really was eye-opening for us. And we're like, okay, wow. And so we put together a great class, and then we came back the next year, we did it again, and we did it again. And I'm like, holy cow, we don't have to recruit in the portal. We're getting Division I kids right out of high school, and then we get to develop them right from the get-go how we want it done. And then, the kids have loved their experience here. And so I've just we continue to recruit at a high level, and we continue to trust our process, and just know that the time is coming.
Exactly, and that obviously has me excited. I think that's going to have people watching you guys excited. I know kind of running up on the end of your time, so I want to end with one last question. If someone was to come watch your team at SVSU this year, what are they going to look like? Like, describe what kind of football you guys play, kind of what this team you think is going to be like this year. Like, if they come to a game, what kind of experience are they going to see under this year's 2025 SVSU football team?
I think the first thing they're going to observe is going to be like our culture on full display, like the energy that our guys have and the energy that they play with and practice with and train with. Like, it's awesome. I've had some coaches that have come and gone and went on to Division I things, and when I have to I recruit my coaches like I recruit my players. It's the same model. I want to recruit like-minded people for my coaching staff, and so and I aim high with my coaches, and so I've had some great ones here, and I've had some great ones move on that are at a Power 5 level, kicking butt, and happy and proud about that. But we always feel like our players and our culture sell to these assistants like, hey, yeah, you should want to come here, and so. I think that's the first thing people are going to see is they're going to see my team take the field and say, wow, look at these guys, look at their energy, look how they respond to each other and the coaching staff, and then you're going to see just like I think we've got like legitimate talent here, like from every position group. I mean, you're going to look at our offensive line and say, wow, look at that group. The same thing with our D-line, our secondary this year. I can't wait to see our secondary on the field this year. Our linebacking core is extremely deep. Great kids, too, like awesome. And then we've got some really good skill players, guys like Terrence Brown and Braden Hill and Michael Jamerson. Then we've already talked about the quarterback. Eric Kraft's a senior. So I think you're just going to see a very, very dynamic, explosive football team that plays the game the right way. We're not going to talk trash, and we're going to shake hands and smile and say good game and do it the right way, and say yes sir, no sir, and say please and thank you. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is when we leave the hotel or that the hotel people are like, man, that's the best team we've ever had here, and that's the feedback that I get over and over again, and so I think that's going to show through with people in the stands that come and observe us and watch the way we do things.
I love that. I think that's awesome, and I've never gone to an SVSU game, so maybe I will need to make out. I might need to make out this year. It's silent. You have me excited. You have me excited, Coach. I love that. I think that's awesome. And I've never gone to an SVSU game, so maybe I'll
come on out.
I might need to make out this year.
Come on. We got 7. We got 7 home games, Guy. 7 finally. I've been battling here for. That's the first time I've been on the other side of having the 11 since I've been here, I think. So we're excited. We're on the road. We had 7 road games last year, so. It's like, whoo, all right, let's flip that. Here we are. So we love our setup, and then this is the 50th year anniversary of SVSU football. So in 1975, the first varsity team rolled out there, and so we're celebrating, the first team, and then we're celebrating 50 years of SVSU football. So it's a milestone year in 2025. And so hopefully we can bring some of that magic back.
I love that. And yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck. Just really appreciate you joining this podcast. It's been awesome. You got me motivated. You got me excited for what you guys have going on this year. Like I said earlier, I think you guys have great things happening at SVSU under you, and I really do wish you the best of luck, and I think you guys are going to build a great team, and I think the GLIAC is going to be really fun again this year like every other year.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, and that is a wrap to episode number 472. Thank you to Coach Brady for joining and tuning in to the next episode.